right. Welcome to WTF Sky, Middleman Politics. But today it's not going to be really much politics, but I don't know, it kind of relates to politics, I guess. So, is there going to be baseball? Or any sports? That's the question. And today I want to talk to you guys about should we even bother with these guys anymore? Or do they have a valid point? All right, let's get started here. So, today, I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but I didn't really get the time to follow up with it. There's a story in the New York Post, and as you all know, due to COVID-19, NBA basketball has been canceled, well, postponed for now. NASCAR starts back up on Sunday, and Major League Baseball is in the middle of negotiations to start the season by the 4th of July weekend. As far as I know, the National Football League also plans to start their season on time. Yes, you heard me right, folks. And they plan to have fans in the stands, by the way. Major League Baseball is not looking at having any kind of crowd whatsoever. So, would having sports back help? For the people who've lost their jobs, maybe for the people who need some normalcy in their life again, it would be nice to see a live event, something current. I know a lot of you sports fans out there probably watched all the classic games on NFL Channel and ESPN's old baseball and college and everything like that. So it would be good for the morale. Well, check this out. I want to refresh this real quick too because this is a video of baseball future Hall of Famer Bryce Harper and another player talking about what Trevor Bauer said. And what Bauer said yesterday or a couple days ago was that the proposal is a joke. In other words, he slammed it, stating that they've already have taken a pay cut for this year because of the half season. And what the owners are proposing is a 50-50 split on the revenue this year. Now, the owners are just trying to claw back something. There's no ticket sales involved. So you're not going to make any money off of beer sales or hot dogs or popcorn or anything like that this baseball season. But, nonetheless, the baseball players are offended by this. Some of them. Well, and here's what Bryce Harper had to say while playing Fortnite. By the way, guys, let's make sure we all realize one thing here. These guys are millionaires. Okay? They're not hungry. They are well off, well supplied, plenty of everything they need. So I just want you to keep this in mind as they're having a casual conversation during a game of Fortnite. I'll start this here.
Snell said on his stream earlier, do you know?
That he said it's not worth it to play with pay cuts and that.
This is Byron Scott talking.
You guys are risking your lives obviously getting COVID.
Yeah, I love Snell. That's my guy, bro. I love Snell.
He said if someone gets it, they got to live with that for the rest of their lives.
He ain't lying. He's right.
He's like, he said, give me my money or I'm not playing.
Hey, bro, he's speaking the truth, bro. I ain't mad at him. Somebody's got to say it. At least he manned up and said it. Good for him. I love Snell, man. This guy's a beast, too. The best lefties in the game, bro.
Good for Snell. Good for Blake Snell. And Steven, yeah, the guy is an average player at best. He could be a Hall of Famer if he got it together, if he focused on what was important, and that is the game itself and being a team player. Maybe I overspoke by saying future Hall of Famer, but he could be. Bryce Harper has a wicked bat. He always has, but he's got a little bit of an attitude problem, and that's been on the field as well. But what makes me outraged is the casualness, the nonchalantness of, well, I could go out and make 1.3 mil this year and then 50-50 on the revenue. I don't know. I just, gee, it ain't worth it to me. Okay, fair enough. But my problem with that is there are millions of people out there who would kill to be a professional baseball player, to play the game we love, that we grew up with. I know I've been playing baseball since I was 5. I've watched it. I stopped playing when I was in my 20s. I played more softball into my 30s, but it's an addictive sport. You can't wait to get back on the field the next time. You can't wait to smell the leather of the glove. You can't wait to feel the bat in your hands ready to crank a ball. And these guys don't have that passion anymore. Now, I get it. We've got a pandemic going on. We got to make sure that whatever that we decide to pay these guys is worth it. Worth it to who, though? Worth it to the fans, worth it to the ownership, worth it to the player. Now, they've earned that money, okay? They're in a business that makes lots of money. So these players have earned their contracts. They've earned their money by their performance. And I'm not saying baseball or any sport's going to save the world. But it's this kind of interaction right here that makes me not want to give a damn about whether or not if it comes back or not. Not enough money for me, man. Okay, so what's your other option? Stay at home, play Fortnite. Maybe because you can travel, you're going to go somewhere and go to a state that's open. Risk yourself from getting this as well. You're surely not going to sit at home all summer long. I mean, these players make enough money. Once the airline industry starts opening up again, they're out of here. They're flying all over the place, right? They've got connections. But these guys sitting around, somebody's got to say it. Blake Snell's a beast, too. Now, Blake Snell is a Cy Young winner, pitcher, left-hander. He is considered a good pitcher. But what Trevor Bauer did to me is sad, because Trevor Bauer is an average pitcher at best. And I used to be a Reds fan. I was considering trying to watch them again this year. I haven't watched the Reds since Dusty Baker was fired. And I fully started supporting the Royals. And good for me, 2014-15, they went to the World Series both years. Won it in 15. But for a pitcher like Bauer, last year's stats, he went 11-13. He had an ERA of 4.48. That's average. That's above average, actually. He almost allows 5 runs a game. That's what earned run average is. He allows about 5 runs a game. So if you have a baseball team that can't hit worth anything, and you got a pitcher who is going to give up an average of 4.5 runs a game, you're already behind the cue ball, if you ask me. You want a pitcher with an ERA around 3.5 or lower. That's how you know even the worst of hitting teams have a shot at winning a baseball game with a pitcher who's not giving up that many runs. Strikeouts, not bad. 253 strikeouts last season. Not bad. 213 innings pitched. For the Reds, that's really good, actually, considering how bad they've been in the past few seasons. They've got a promising roster. But the reason why I'm bringing up his stats is he should be elated at the opportunity to get out of his house, to go back to some kind of a normal routine, to provide some kind of comfort to certain Americans. There are people who are crazy about sports. Yeah, I agree, Stephen. Stephen says here in the chat, millions of people need these guys. It's all about the money to them now. And this is the worst time ever to make it about money. The worst. Now, we're all desperate for some kind of entertainment, something of normal. A baseball game with empty stands is not normal. But the sport itself being played, it's going to make people like, oh, man, I'm so glad I can watch this. I bet you a lot of you, well, most of you don't follow news, which is good. The mainstream news channels, they all suck. Why do they all suck? Because they're biased. Not one channel out there can sit there and refrain from calling a name on the other party. In other words, if you're watching CNN, they constantly are insulting Republicans and calling people names. You go to Fox News, same thing. Same thing. They do it on the Democrat side. It's back and forth, back and forth. MSNBC, I can't watch that channel. I just can't watch that channel. Rachel Maddow gets on my damn nerves, and I'm not afraid to say it. But when you watch a channel like Fox News today, and they are basically trying to hurry this country back open, I get it. This economy is not going to survive on lockdown. Nancy Pelosi's last bill, folks, here, listen. If you don't think I'm being serious here about this, that last bill that Nancy Pelosi has put in front of Congress right now, who cares if it passes today? The Republicans have made it quite clear, and so is Trump. They're not looking at this bill, period. And it's sad because Nancy's already saying, well, we'll go ahead. This would be a great starting point. Let's negotiate from this. And then here's the thing. When you've got the Republican Party saying that this is a liberal wish list, and then you look at the actual bill, let me tell you the money that is involved, or at least the parts of this that is involved in this stimulus bill, and you tell me if this is a liberal wish list. To me, a liberal wish list would be Green New Deal stuff, would be funding for Planned Parenthood, or funding for demolishing ICE or something like that. That to me is a wish list. But the Republicans, and this is kind of how out of touch they are, and I get it. They've got a budget to watch. Someone's going to pay for all this stimulus. I understand that. But right now, there's around 35 million people without jobs. And just because the unemployment insurance has been bulked up, well, there's people still waiting. They filed a month ago and they still haven't seen a dime. Yes, they will get back pay. But that's not the point. But here's how far apart we are with this new bill. The money in this bill is going to go towards hospitals. It's going to go, a big chunk of it, they're getting $75 billion for testing, which a lot of these people, the plans they need to get back to normal is robust testing, especially baseball. And that's another thing that makes me mad. Baseball players are going to be tested at least twice a week. And yet people like me and you haven't had a test yet. Maybe some of us need it. Maybe some of us don't. I know I could have used one. I'll tell you that. Maybe a second one. Anyway, back to the list. So money to the hospitals, money for testing, millions of dollars for food banks, 15% add-on to SNAP, which is their food card. The SNAP is the EBT, food stamps. Relief for rent and mortgages. So not only does the renter get money to pay rent, but also there is relief for these landlords who are behind on mortgage payments because rent's behind. I know what you're saying. All that money should be cycled back anyway. That money they're giving for rent relief should be 100% for like a voucher for your landlord. That's how they should set it up, honestly. Like you should have to go to a website, type in your landlord's name, how much your rent is, your address, the contact number for the landlord to verify the amount. And the government should issue checks to your landlord, in my opinion. I don't think everybody could be tested or trusted with the stimulus checks And rent, I know myself, I'd pay all my bills with it, but there's a lot of people out there who don't really care about that. But, and then of course, the big payout to the American people. Right now, the rumor is $2,000 per person, and I think somewhere around $1,000 per household member, child. If you're not married and you're claim head of the household in your taxes, then you would claim yourself and then your children. It could be right there is $4,000, and then your spouse or fiance or boyfriend or live-in partner claims himself. There's another $2,000. So households could make up to $5,000 to $6,000 from this bill. So it's very, very, very heavy. There's a lot of money involved. Lots of money to places where it needs. Also, almost $1 trillion goes to state budgeting. I'm sorry, $500 billion goes to the states. State of New York is $61 billion is what they need to finish off their budget. So, and I don't want to hear about bailout because New York has been one of the crutches of the United States for many decades. And they put in more money into the federal kitty than any other state in the United States. So don't say bailout. And don't say sanctuary cities don't deserve money, because now you're hurting the citizens, the actual taxpayers of that city. They're not in office. They can't control what their political... Now, we can control by voting these people out. But what about all the money for the weed growers? What is that all about? Well, listen, hey, they're a business. It's not about the weed growers. It's cannabis. It's an industry now. It's going to be federally legalized. In fact, they took steps to make it legal enough for these cannabis companies to open up to where they can put their money in a bank. I don't know if you guys know this, but when the cannabis industry started up here in the United States, where the state started legalizing it recreational, these companies carry this cash on them every day. $200,000 some of these companies have a day. Cash on hand. They have to hire security, more security. They have to run the risk on payday. They pay everybody in cash. So if you're a criminal and you know where a cannabis place is and everybody's getting paid, you know what time, there's a good chance you could walk out of there with a couple, $10, $15, $20,000. You know the boss has got the money. Cash only, yes. I don't have a problem with the cannabis industry getting money because they're affected too. They're a business. But I am up for negotiation on lowering that amount, because I've also read reports that the cannabis industry has actually done well during the pandemic, which I totally get that. Yeah, so I'm okay with it. Maybe they could lower a little bit of them. Maybe shouldn't be so much money thrown at the cannabis industry. Like I said, they probably would. As long as we have money in our pockets, people are going to buy cannabis, especially if they use it, for sure. But anyway, the money that goes to the people, the direct payments, rent relief, money for testing, money for states to fund their police, fire, schools, doctors, nurses, money for food banks, food stamps. That's the grit of this next bill. All right. Meanwhile, people are waiting for their insurance to kick in. It's for female and minority owners only. I'll have to look a little bit more into that. Seems like it should be a little more equal than that, but good for the family or the female owners and the minority owners. At least they have an advantage of something. And that's what I'm saying. What is so wrong with this bill? It's a lot of money. $3 trillion, man. Our kids are going to be paying for this for a long time. That's the biggest problem. But what about the millions of Americans out there who are scared to death? On one hand, we've got doctors saying this fall, we have to be careful. We can't be too cavalier about opening schools up right away. And just, my God, look at Wisconsin. A judge, 4 Republican judges were able to overturn a state stay-at-home order. And not only did they overturn it, but they didn't even put any guidelines in place. That night, they got the call. Guys, open your bars. We're back. And the news shows these people sitting in bars, drinking and just laughing and in their faces and next to each other. And it's a small area. And I'm thinking, oh my God. So if baseball's back and NASCAR's back and football's back, well, this helps the administration with their push to open the economy. It's okay. Come on back out. The water's fine again. It's all right. Look, they're playing baseball. Look, they're having races. It's okay. Come on. The virus is gone. And I feel like that's part of this whole opening up act from the president and his administration. Yesterday, we had a testimony of a whistleblower, Rick Bright, Dr. Rick Bright, where Donald Trump says he's never met him, and he's talked to people that did know him, and from what those people told Donald Trump was that this guy, Dr. Bright, was a loser, basically, bad attitude, nobody respects him. I'm here to tell you, people, I watched that boring-ass testimony yesterday. Woo! Really boring, but it's important because I wanted to see if this guy was a real POS like the president says he is. The guy from Oklahoma, not so much. But everybody else in that committee told this guy they respected him, they were honored, they were admiring him, they thanked him. He's been doing this for over 20 years. He's the top scientist for vaccinations. And he was removed from his position of many years abruptly because his warnings were causing a commotion within the administration. And his warnings were, we have to bulk up testing. We need PPE. He was talking about this stuff in January and early February, and it was making the president mad. So that by April, out. That's enough. I've had it. You keep talking about bad things. I'm talking about good things. Go. Now, the president claims he's a disgruntled, angry employee. The guy from Oklahoma grilled Dr. Bright because he's not reported to NIHIA, his new position. He hasn't reported. He's on medical leave due to stress and hypertension. And now he's taking a paid vacation. He is applying to be reinstated as head of BORDA, which is where he was doing the research and manufacturing of this virus or this vaccine. The problem I have with this move is that he is clearly the most qualified individual out there, but he says things that President Trump doesn't say. So that's why he's being tossed out. It's not a coincidence. Look at Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, Rand Paul tried to get snooty with him in his testimony hearing the other day. And Fauci snapped back at him and said, hey, you can go ahead and blame me and tell me I'm not the end all. That's fine. I'm just a scientist. I'm just a doctor. I'm a public health official, and I'm doing my job. This is what we do for a living. We have to be honest with the American people. Now Trump is talking about Fauci in his interviews. I don't agree with him. His answer is unacceptable. Well, first of all, Fauci never said schools couldn't resume in the fall. He just said we need to make sure we have this testing in place. We need to make sure we're very careful about how we put kids back in schools in the fall. He didn't say we were canceling school for the fall. So they were trying to put words in his mouth. And Fauci, to me, is brilliant when it comes to these guys trying, even CNN, when they try to pigeonhole him into a corner to try to get him to disagree with Trump, Fauci still has a way of answering the question without making it look like he's against Trump, but he's not for Trump. He's just very neutral in his answers. And I know there's a ton of material out there on YouTube that is basically talking about Fauci, how he's a snake in the grass, and he knows about the virus, and he knows how to make the vaccine because he made the virus, and there's all this crap out there. So I have a question for you. I saw a poll 67% of the United States voters trust Dr. Fauci on coronavirus. 37% of American voters trust President Trump on coronavirus. So, if the guy that is being trusted the most in the country is speaking the opposite of what you are, how do you get the American public, the world public, to not trust Fauci anymore, or anybody at that matter? If you're trying to get someone to be swayed, what do? You start up a propaganda? Guys, remember, the propaganda against Fauci didn't start until mid-April, after Easter, which was also around the time, or right before that, that's when they asked for 30 more. When Fauci asked President Trump for 30 more days instead of 15 more days after the first 15 days of lockdown, that's when the propaganda about Fauci started on YouTube. Coincidence to me, because if Fauci was always this way, not trusted, snake in the grass, then why did even Trump assign him to the task force? Same with Birx. I'm hearing bad things about her now. If you don't 100% agree with the president, you're off the team. He's got a mission, he's got a plan, he's got to accomplish it. And if he doesn't accomplish it, he might not get reelected. That's what's in his head. I'm here to tell you, President Trump, that your supporters would vote for you just by being upfront and honest and realistic about the situation. You don't have to stir the pot. The day you announced the 30-day extension, the way you handled it that day was perfect. When you told the country that we were going to be extending the lockdown for another 30 days and the CDC guidelines, that was the most perfect day for you as far as presenting information, talking about what's important, that's American lives. What changed? 4 days later, you had a meeting with a bunch of sports executives and owners, and it drove you nuts to see your friends, your billionaire friends, freaking out. I only made $250 million last year, and I was hoping to make $300 million. Now this COVID, we might not even sell tickets. And he heard all these angry rich people yelling at him about their revenue loss. The numbers added up, and he just broke. That's it. I got to get my economy back. I can't let this happen to my fellow friends who are rich like me. It's the truth, guys. I'm sorry. Look, I voted Trump. I voted for him. I think he did a great job with the economy. I think he did a great job with taxes. I think he did a pretty good job about his immigration policy. Everybody calls him a racist. He just wants people here who are documented. He's not saying he doesn't want immigrants. He's just saying you need to do it the right way. Document yourself. Identify yourself. Make sure you're in this country legally, because the taxpayers can't afford to continue to provide health services and food services for people that we don't even have documentation for. So I agree with Donald Trump for the most part. But it was the handling of this COVID virus that really opened my eyes to some of the things that I didn't see before. And I got to be honest with you guys, he has a very loyal following. And the Republicans didn't always really care for him, and now they do. And what's scary is that Fox News is 120% behind him, and they repeat his rhetoric on their programs. We got to open. This virus ain't that big of a deal. There's going to be deaths. But if we don't open our economy, there's not going to be death. We're going to be dead from that. So Fox News is pushing, you got to go back to work. Sorry about the risk. Sorry that it's not safe out there. Sorry, you got to go. It's almost like they didn't have enough people die from the first wave, so now they're manufacturing more death. If you're one of those conspiracy theorists out there that think that this is a plan for depopulation, this part right here, I would say, would make me curious. Because we stayed so good for the first 6 weeks of this, and we flattened the curve, and we staved off a major disruption in our healthcare system. And Fauci has preached this from day one. Don't take the foot off the gas. just because we're seeing some success. Remember, these results are 3 weeks late. So what we see today is a result from what we had 3 weeks ago. So the minute we start relaxing, here in about 3 or 4 weeks, there's going to be some states on the up. Now, right now, we're not seeing it. The only state that's seeing it is Wisconsin. They're up a little bit. Their cases are steadily rising. They're also one of the lower ones, but their cases are now on the rise. Believe it or not, Georgia, and I know I was watching CNN yesterday, and it was really, you could tell in his face when he was reporting this, he was like, damn it, Georgia's declining on cases, even though they've been open for 2 weeks. I can't believe it. We thought for sure that everyone was going to die. But, two things, guys. It's only been 2 weeks, first of all. And second of all, are they testing? Are they testing? Are they testing like they're supposed to? Because the biggest complaint from the majority of the governors who are open, that don't want to be open, is that their state has not met the guidelines yet for the 14 days of decline. So what does this have to do with baseball, you say? And why are you so upset, Jake? Because so many people, children especially, look up to these guys. If anything, do it for the kids. You're going to be taken care of. You guys are millionaires. You guys have the best healthcare services. You got the best team doctors. You're going to get dibs on PPE first. You're going to get dibs on testing first. You're going to get the 100% white glove treatment if you get sick. And a lot of you are in good shape. You're young men. You don't fall in that category of getting this and dying. Now, I know there's people in Italy, all over the world, that's reported people who are in good health, never been health issues, and they die anyway. Here in Albany, we had a guy in his mid-20s, a healthy guy, a runner. He died 8 days after he was admitted in the hospital. I get that. There is cases out there. But for the most part, if this plan is detailed like I think it is, these guys will be fine. And some of these guys are taking pay cuts to play the season anyway. That's great. Good for you. But they draw the line in the sand for the revenue part, right? Nope, that's it. 50-50 on revenue, bullshit. We want 80-20. 80-20. Hazard pay. To do something that myself and a lot of people out there that would have loved to have the shot just to play in the minors. Hell, college baseball. If you get to play college baseball, that's making it. The percentage chances of going pro are very, very low. Malvin says Georgia had 1,000 new cases this morning. Really? That's not good. Georgia has not added 1,000 cases a day in a while. This is concluding week number 2 right now, as far as them being open. Worldometers is saying 567. So, of course, Worldometers has not been accurate lately. Maybe Malvin, you could leave the source of that. Virginia, another state that's bragging about opening up early. They've added 859 cases this morning. Maryland, 1,083. Again, wait another 2 weeks. This is going to be the most deceiving part of this virus. The next 2 weeks are going to start winding down. It's going to get quiet. Deaths are going to start coming down a little bit. The cases are probably going to stay between 20 and 30,000 a day, but the more we open, the more we release these sanctions, or not sanctions, that's what they feel like. The more we release this, the more chances of more death. Look, we're already seeing the 147,000 deaths. They went from 64,000 2 weeks ago to 137,000. Actually, it was 134,000 first. Then it went to 137. And then a week later, it goes up to 147. Each week, they're putting more deaths on that total. Now, right now, looking at Worldometers, the United States has 87,000 deaths. Now, Worldometers is a little bit ahead of Johns Hopkins. You go to Johns Hopkins, it's probably going to say 85 or 86,000. Nonetheless, today we are definitely good for about another 16 to 1,800 deaths at this rate that we've seen. States that'll show us the most death today: New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and possibly Connecticut. Those will catapult us into the 14 to 18, I'd say about 1,600 to 1,800 deaths today, which would put us right about almost at 89,000 deaths in the United States at the end of the day today. We could be looking at that. My question is, why are we talking about opening schools when this country is facing more death, more new cases, new reports of children experiencing inflammatory diseases like Kawasaki disease, rash, fever, redness in the eyes, painful too. And also, it causes cardiology problems. I don't know what that means about the 1984 COVID statistics. Obviously, Melody, you know I don't believe in man-made global warming, and it doesn't exist. I'm not here to debate whether this is real or not. There's people out there who believe it's real. There's people out there who believe it's fake. There's people who believe this is a pandemic. That's fine. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to sit here and debate you either. This program and this channel believes that we are in a crisis. We are in a pandemic. So the people that come to this channel will come to this channel because they want information on what's happening. If you don't believe that it's happening, that's fine. That's fine. But this will not turn into a debate. And it's sad that we have certain politicians splitting up the country on this coronavirus. In fact, they want to make it, if you believe it, you're a Democrat. If you don't believe it, you're a Republican. That's wrong. That's just absolutely wrong. Look, there are people up here in upstate New York that my stepdaughter had a classmate where they lost their grandmother due to COVID. Okay? I've had employees that work for me test positive for COVID. I live in New York. I have friends that work in hospitals. I have bosses that have wives that work in hospitals. It's real, guys.
I had a subscriber message me. They've had it twice.
They've had it twice, and
like they were going to die because of the heart issues.
Yeah, well, look, guys, I never got tested. I never got hospitalized, but I'm pretty sure that I had a weak bout of coronavirus when this all went down, right before we started closing the country down. Mari and I both, I don't know, maybe not Mari, but I can say for myself, I definitely felt like something was off. And then they just talked about here recently COVID toe. I'm showing signs of that as well. That's an after effect after you have the virus. So in adults so far, the after effects if you've had COVID is the COVID toes, and for kids, it's the Kawasaki disease. Possibly, let me ask you this: if children are experiencing this, the adults are as well. So that means there's more heart issues and vascular issues that adults need to be aware of. The point I'm trying to make is that we just don't know yet. This virus is novel for a reason. Nobody knows enough. Each month we learn something new about the virus. The fact that we're talking about Kawasaki disease in children is also now starting to scare officials about opening schools in the fall. Even if they're asymptomatic, there's a chance that they could get this after effect. The children that have had this Kawasaki disease, this mysterious illness, are linked to children who tested positive for COVID. So we're learning that after this virus is done, you still have effects from the virus. That's what we're learning. Again, if you don't believe in it, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm going to bore you. You might want to leave. I don't have any ill feelings to people that don't believe it. It's upsetting because I think it's disrespectful to the dead right now because I do believe it. And I know people that's had it. And I know people that's died.
I think it's more disrespectful to the doctors and nurses.
Absolutely. Have you seen some of these doctors and nurses, what their faces look like now? They have permanent indents in their face from their mask and their goggles and their PPE. To say this is all fake is also disrespectful to all those frontline workers, grocery store clerks, doctors, nurses, police, fire. They're still coming into work every day. New York's fire department really got hit hard. COVID is the flu. No, it's not, Brian. It's not the flu. So you can believe that, but that's not the flu. I'm sorry that there is so much divide about this topic. It's frustrating, and I'm not here to convince you one way or the other. I'm reporting on the COVID virus when I report on it. It's the facts that I believe. Yeah, no, I agree with that, Melody. The original model that they were predicting for the UK was 8 million to be hospitalized, and like hundreds of thousands of UK citizens were going to die. That is a problem. You're right. When you have, oh, I heard another earthquake go off. Heard Mari's phone going off. When you have models that show those kind of scary numbers, that was a terrible mistake. That was probably the worst of all the models. Grossly done. Like right now, the models that we have that are saying 147,000. Guys, I believe that number will happen, especially with us opening up. I believe those numbers are going to happen. And the reason why they set it from 140 to 200,000 back to 60,000, I think it was just to ease people out of the shock. And now that we're approaching 90,000 deaths, I mean, think about it, guys. If you're averaging 1,500 deaths a day, times 30, and maybe next month it slows down to only 1,000 deaths a day, that's still 30,000 deaths in a month. 1,000 deaths a day in the United States is 30,000 in a month. So at this rate, we will be at 100,000 before the end of this month. If it slows down to 1,000 a month by June, maybe even 800, fine. You're still adding another 25,000 deaths in June. There's your 120,000. And then you get to July. This is where it could explode because you're dealing with the death in May and June from the virus in March, April, and May. And then July comes around, and now we're going to be dealing with death from new cases and old cases. And when you add those deaths back together, that's where this model came up with 3,000 deaths a day, which is realistic if it happens. Now, I'm hoping that we get out there and it does go away, that we burn it out because the summer heat really does have something to do with it. Here's the number one comment that I get all the time. Over 1 million die each year from auto accidents. We don't deny people the right to drive and allow professional drivers on the roads, but that's the wrong way to look at it. This disease, this virus, is highly contagious. The only reason why the numbers are not 140,000 to 200,000 now is because we were staying home in lockdown. We were isolated from each other. The death count went down because the activity went down and we stopped. So, I don't want to hear that heart attacks and car accidents cause more death than this and blah, blah, blah. Because if we didn't stop what we were doing, okay, if we didn't stop what we were doing and continue to live our lives like normal through the month of March and April and now, it would be millions. Millions of people would have it. hundreds of thousands of people would be dead. The one thing that we've learned about this virus is that it loves dense populations. That's why New York has been hit. That's why New York City has been hit. It is dense. You may live in a rural area. Maybe you live in Kansas. Maybe you live in Oklahoma or Texas, where it's not so bad. North Dakota, not so bad. Montana, Wyoming, not bad at all. Alabama, not so bad. Bad enough. But if you live in a state like New York, there's no question about it. So totally different. You're comparing apples to oranges. A virus that's highly contagious. It's like wildfire. I guess we'll see. Here in the next couple weeks. But that's going to be a hard lesson for us to learn when we see the death count go way up because people are interacting. Wisconsin's being stupid about it. They're not even wearing masks. The bartender they showed in the clip last night about Wisconsin being open, she was wearing a mask. None of the customers were. Malcolm says they gave all the kids laptops. Yes, they did the same here in New York. And one thing they did as well, Malvin, is they're building a website, a resource website for parents and children to use as a resource when kids get hung up on a question or a math equation or whatever. And you're saying to yourself, well, that's... Yeah, well, I'll tell you something right now. There's no crying and bitching from the New York governor. Let me tell you. Governor Cuomo has been one of the most crooked governors in the history of governors. But this COVID situation has changed that guy. Totally different, in my opinion. And he gives the best facts. Crying. I don't even know where you get that from. The guy has been abused by the federal government, accusing his state that it was badly run and is not going to get bailout money. Look, he just wants money for funding for testing. His revenue is shot because they had to shut the state down for 6 weeks. So where is he going to get all this money for this big testing that we're supposed to do to get the economy open back up? He needs money for testing, for medical, help pay for police, help pay for fire department, help pay the teachers. Yep. Density is key. And Brian, I know that's your opinion, and you're allowed to have it. I'm not mad at you. I mean, that's fine. Like I told everybody earlier, I'm not here to debate it. I know the facts as well as you guys, and everybody looks at it differently. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. And I hear both sides. Lockdown was not necessary for the whole country. Maybe you're right. Maybe people from 20 to 35 should have been allowed to do as they please, go to their jobs, keep some of these places open, and let that population go to work and keep the rest who are vulnerable to this in. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying we should be shut down for permanent reasons. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that some of the stuff that we did, it may seem drastic. And I heard so many health officials and government leaders say the same thing over and over again. And where they... Oh, crap, I lost what I was saying. They would rather be overdoing it than underdoing it, as dangerous as this virus is. Melody, good point here. Didn't Cuomo insist initial patients be putting in nursing homes, thus causing more deaths? That is fake news. And here's why. There are policies, and this is why you can't put the blame on the governor on this one. And I've heard so many people try to spin it that way. Governor Cuomo put people in the nursing homes that had COVID and they died. So New York State has a policy that a nursing healthcare facility can receive a patient as long as they can take care of the patient's needs. In other words, they are able to isolate that patient. They are able to assign that patient specific nurses. That way they are not spreading the virus through the facility. If that nursing home center cannot take care of that patient before the hospital releases the COVID patient, they are to get a referral from the Department of Health. And then the Department of Health will place them in a facility where they can take care of this COVID patient. So Governor Cuomo was not putting positive patients into nursing homes. Governor Cuomo had nothing to do with it. This is the nursing homes who are being scandalous because if they don't get the patient, they lose the funding from the state, right? These patients have dollar signs on them, okay? I'm sorry to say it, it's a business. So if you want to be mad about nursing home situations, don't be mad at the governor. The governor has clearly made it aware that the law states if you cannot take care of that patient and you cannot isolate them properly, then you need to call the Department of Health and we will refer them to another facility that can absorb them. Also, Cuomo has designated some facilities now that are just all COVID patients only. So we don't risk infecting patients that aren't sick already. So the big spin story about Cuomo is that he's killing people in the nursing homes. And Fox News, I even seen Fox News trying to make it like he was a murderer. That's not the case. He did not say put them in the nursing home. He is saying that the state and the nursing home system were working together hand in hand. Basically, the nursing home systems that were accepting COVID positive patients were lying because they didn't want to lose the money. That's it. And Cuomo is now saying anyone who does this from here on out, takes in patients that can't care for them properly, will lose their license. The facility will lose their license. Again, guys, I watch his briefings every day. I live in New York. It's on. It's available. I'm sure all of you that watch the news, he's probably on other channels. I don't know. But as far as facts, numbers, hospitalizations, deaths, there's nobody else out there that gives it to you more real than he does. He wants to open his state, but he also wants to do it safely. I can't believe I'm defending Cuomo because trust me, guys, I hate this guy. Politically, he's terrible for this state. The taxes are too high. He protects way too many people that shouldn't be protected. This bail reform was a disaster in New York. I mean, I get it. Cuomo is not a saint by any means. But I am impressed with his leadership through this situation. Watching him every day, watching the questions. He's not a well-liked governor before this, and he's still not. But some of the things that he's getting a bad rep for, I'm going to stick up for him on those because it's not true. And I've seen Fox News, just like CNN, how they're always fake news and deceiving people. Fox News is also deceiving people. I saw a report from Sean Hannity talking about this next bill, and he lies. Wow, lies. Conservatives don't care about you, the American people. Malvin, Brian, Melody, Edward, Rhea, none of you. They're rich. Fox News, government officials, they're rich. They have money. So they could give a shit less if this next bill is passed. Hell, they've got people in the administration that say, we're going to pause on any more relief because that $1,200 we sent you guys, you should be set. That's BS. Absolute BS. So when I see the baseball players and sports players acting like babies, like Trevor Bauer, a mediocre pitcher for the Reds, saying this is a joke of a proposal, we're not playing baseball, and Steven said it earlier. There's people that need baseball, people that need sports. Unfortunately, maybe not most of you, but there are people who really, really do need something to be hopeful for, especially for the kids. Do it for the kids, MLB. Do it for the kids. That's it. I mean, if baseball is canceled because they couldn't work out an agreement on finances, F baseball. I mean that. F baseball. If they cancel the season because they can't come up with a reasonable negotiated package for both people to be satisfied, F baseball. They went on strike. My dad didn't watch it for 6 years after that when they went on strike back in the early 90s. I will pull a Pat Riley on that and not watch baseball again if they cancel this season because they couldn't come to an agreement on money. Won't watch it. Same with football. You guys know how much I love my Browns. If the NFL pulls this stunt, that's it. Why should I spend my hard-earned dollar on a Browns jersey or on a Reds jersey or buying a season ticket package for the TV so you can watch your games at home? I'm not going to do it. It's not enough. Fox won their lawsuit by arguing that no law, rule, or regulation prevented them from lying. I don't know what you're talking about. None of the media cares. They're essential. They can go where they want. Yes, that's true. Yeah, Melody, I don't know what you're regarding in there. Fox won their lawsuit by arguing that no law, rule, or regulation prevented them from lying. Speaking of lying, let me ask a question. I want everybody to respond to this. Trump supporter or not, it doesn't matter. I'm asking you guys to answer yes or no. Are you okay with Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, I can't remember the doctor from the FDA. Are you okay with any of the members from the task force, coronavirus task force? Are you okay that the White House is not letting them appear on the major news networks anymore to discuss coronavirus? Are you guys okay with that? Are you okay with the government keeping the health experts off of the talking shows, Fox News included? Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, they're not allowed to talk anymore. I want to know, yes or no. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with what was once touted as America's top medical experts? Remember, President Trump picked the cream of the crop. Are you okay now that those guys that they were picked by the Trump administration and Michael Pence, now all of a sudden they don't want them talking to the public? No. Yes. No. But. I like that, Melody. She's being a rebel today. No, but. Again. This is not. Again, I get it. Melody's not totally sold on the whole virus. So, it's not that important to you. I get that. Yes, Fauci is full of it, in my opinion. And, Brian, question for you. When did you determine that Fauci was full of it? And be honest, try to remember when you started feeling like, okay, Fauci's a snake in the grass. I want to know what month, what day, or as close as the date you can give me. I'm just curious. So right now, we've got 1, 2, 3 no's and 2 yeses. So 3 of you are not okay with it. 2 of you are okay with it. 1's okay with it because Fauci is full of it. But what about the rest of them, Brian? What about the rest of these guys? The Admiral, the Surgeon General, Dr. Hahn, the FDA guy, the other person, Dr. Redford from the CDC. Exactly. Other doctors should be able to be heard as well. And that's what I'm saying, Melody. None of them are allowed to speak on news channels anymore. The White House, as long as they have control of the coronavirus task force, the White House is no longer allowed to let them speak in public on a cable TV. Yeah, they are weird. And Edward, I know, look, I'm a Trump supporter. I know Edward was or is as well. Some of these press conferences are weird. Oh, thank you, Trump. Yada, yada. Yeah. A lot of people thanking the president for his wonderful leadership. And he's done a great job until the virus. That's all I'm saying. Brian, would you say the numbers are all off? And then what are you going to do when they up the death count? Because they think they're undercounting the dead right now. They do. Edward put a good point. I'm okay with them speaking, but the media tries to spin it. You're right. And I've seen CNN do it all the time. They'll get Fauci on and they'll put him in a corner and try to get him to say something that might that might make Trump look bad. That's what CNN's goal is. So you're right. You're right. The media does a terrible job. They want to spin it for their agenda. But I don't think it's fair by the administration. Look, he didn't let him talk in Congress because it's Democratic ran. All right, he feels like the Democrats were gonna roast Trump and Fauci was gonna make him look bad. And then Fauci goes into the Senate and Fauci still makes Trump look bad because everything Fauci's saying is against what Trump is saying. So it was a fail. And that's part of the reason why no more task force people on the news, because it's too difficult for the president to keep his election campaign going. Yeah. Melody, I'm in the same boat with you on that, third party. Brian, according to some scientists and some doctors and organizations as well, part of Johns Hopkins, they're saying that the death count is over 100,000. And they're going through a lot of cases right now to figure out if they actually died of corona or not. So here's what's happening. If you died in the hospital and you had COVID-19, the doctors are basically saying that COVID-19 helped push the death. That this person wouldn't have died of this because if they didn't have COVID, they would have been able to recover. They're saying that on top of what underlying conditions you have, the COVID was the key that pushed you over the line. That's my understanding. And they're saying that there are more cases out there that we haven't counted because people that have died in their homes, autopsies that still haven't been performed. Some folks didn't even get an autopsy. If you looked at some of the video footage from New York, people were put in boxes and they dug a big ditch and several hundred bodies are all stacked up. It's morbid. I know. I don't like talking about it, honestly, guys. It makes me uncomfortable because I live so close to it. And I worry about this fall. The guy they had testify yesterday that Trump calls a angry, disgruntled employee. You know what? If I'd been somewhere for over 20 years and was the head of something and then I got fired for no reason, I haven't heard a reason why this guy was removed from his post. I haven't heard. He didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't agree with the president. And I think it's sad that we live in a world that we have to agree with everything our government says. What happened to free thinking? What happened to trusting the science? I'm seriously concerned for us people in the future. Again, I don't mean to be so hard on the president. Like I said, I agreed with a lot of his policies before the virus, and he did a good job. But this virus has opened my eyes. I just don't feel like the Republican Party cares about the American people. All they care about is getting the economy open again and getting that stock market and getting their pockets lined. That's it. They don't care if they're doing it safe or not. Let me ask you a question. Did Italy open their country up when they were losing 600 people a day? No. So why are we opening up our country in parts? Not everywhere. Some places do need to be open. The northern plain states are doing well. Some of the West Coast is steady now, so it's doing better. There's a lot of states that are heading down. So those states, maybe we should look at a slower phase, but eventually opening. But places like Wisconsin, with nothing happening, no face masks, no gloves, no protocols in place, just back to normal. Boy, how did this turn into a COVID talk? I guess because the baseball is pending because of COVID. But the baseball players, in my opinion, are acting like spoiled brats. And I'm warning you, Major League Baseball, if you guys don't play ball this year because you can't agree on terms of pay, I'll watch minor league baseball. I'll go to the Frontier League baseball and watch them play. I'll go to high schools and just watch baseball live every day. This is not a time to be greedy. 6.5 earthquake in Nevada, lots of aftershocks. Yeah, we'll be covering that today at 4 o'clock. Would social distancing and mandatory masks be enough? I guess the controversial question that cannot be answered is, was the shutdown necessary? We'll never know. I was scared to. Italy had a hug of Chinese person, proved they were not racist. Yeah, death. Scared to death to get it. I'm having second thoughts. Edward, and that's the dangerous part. You did your part. You stayed in. You followed the guidelines. Good job. You helped take the spread down. But the more protests, the more the states open up, the more you see with people getting out and about. If you're following the orders and you're sitting at home like, geez, what? Maybe I can go out. That's normal. That's normal to feel that way. That's normal. So, Edward, I don't blame you. And this is part of the problem about the reporting on this virus is that first you had the president and the administration saying how serious this was. We need to take this serious. The virus must be taken care of before we open. He said that in the beginning. Actually, in February, he denied it. He basically denied it. And then March, he got serious about it. And then April, he got unserious about it. He's been really unserious about it in May. Wrestling been going on this whole time. Yeah, that's not too smart either, honestly. Baseball with the six of the fans in stands, live with what you earn. Thank you, Brian. Exactly. But there won't be a sixth. They're talking about playing with nobody in the stands. Which I'm glad for baseball to come back, period, even if they don't have fans. I'm okay with that. I think everybody in here is, ooh, cool melody. One of my lifelong dreams is to be a radio announcer for football or baseball. It doesn't matter which. So I admire your father. Bob sounds like a great American. He did Notre Dame baseball. What a great college. Good story there. Thanks for sharing that with us, Melody. I think everybody in this chat agrees that we're living in some messed up times right now. There's a lot of mixed signals being sent out. And unfortunately, those mixed signals are also dividing us as a country, as a people. And all I ask from you folks is when you come over here and watch us, just have an open mind. I'm not saying you have to be convinced what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you don't agree with me, then get the hell off my channel. I'm just asking to be respectful for people who are taking this serious and who do believe it. And I think you guys are doing a really good job. I've had about 3 or 4 political shows on this channel, and we haven't had a screaming match yet. That's good. That's real good. So I appreciate all of you guys and I respect all of your opinions and beliefs. And I really appreciate the behavior. Everybody in here is acting like adults. So this is a trying time. There's a lot to be angry about. You can be mad at the government. You can be mad at losing your job. You can be mad at Fauci. That's fine. It's understandable. Everyone is really emotional right now. And I want to be that person that is in the middle, that sees both of it, that favors nothing. I want to see it for the advantage and benefit of us, the normal people, the average people out there, the working Americans. Our voices matter more than anything right now, whether you believe this is happening or not. Either way, your rights are getting violated in one way or another, right? If you don't believe in this, you're being kept home for no reason. You're being put in the toilet with your finances because of this. And if you don't believe in it, this is making you angry. If you do believe in it, you're angry at the president because he seems to be downplaying it. He seems to be contradicting all the medical experts. So both sides are angry for different reasons. And then when the two meet, it's bad. It's bad. But you guys, awesome. You guys are awesome. I had 3 yeses and 2 nos. I'm sorry, 3 nos and 2 yeses. Nos represented they weren't okay with the doctors and experts being censored from the media. and 2 people said yes, they were okay with it because they don't agree with those particular individuals. And that's fine. But the fact that I had some diversity in here and nobody got into it, this is what it's all about, guys. This is my dream. How I envision to be able to have a discussion about politics and current events without people being nasty to each other. Again, you can come in here and say you love Al Gore. I might laugh at you, but that's your right. That's your right. All right, guys, I think I've taken up enough time. I just had to get this off my chest because I'm a sports fan. I love baseball and I love football. I wanted to come back so bad. The NFL thinks they're going to be playing football games with people in the stands this year. That's nuts. All right, that's crazy. That's not happening. So reality check's going to happen here in about 4 weeks, guys. We are going to see if sports are going to be able to coexist with the COVID infection running rampant. And for those of you who are not happy about this because you don't believe it's really happening, hang in there because, look, time's going to tell. If we get to August and it disappears and there's no more cases and the death stops and we get into the fall and no one's getting sick and we ran through it, then we've got some questions because we were promised there was going to be another wave in the fall. We were promised that this was going to be the darkest winter in modern history. I'll be there with you guys. I'll be there with you. But let's let this play out for now. As far as people who are upset with the lockdowns, I get it. I get your frustration. But we have to be level-headed about this. We have to be good to each other. Some are suffering right now. Some aren't. Some are scared right now. Some aren't. No matter what you believe, though, let's come together during this crisis, no matter if it's real or fake. It's a crisis, and the whole world is dealing with it right now. And we talk about we're the best country in the world. Let's show the world why we are the best country. Let's ignore the noise, stop being divided, and be good to each other. All right, guys. We'll see you at 4 o'clock on Grand Solar Minimum News. We got some stuff to talk about. Earthquakes, snow, floods, you name it. Space weather. It'll all be there. 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on the Grand Solar Minimum. Until then, guys, have a great day and don't believe the hype. Take care.